Hi everyone, it's TTL back with another video for you, and now it's finally time for me to talk to you about the Z690 Strix. Now the Strix boards are normally a really well priced, aggressively priced, kind of these sort of like lower mid-range kind of boards, very well equipped, and that then makes them very popular with you guys at home. I do have to say though that the pricing structure that they've gone with this time is kind of weird, and when you take a brand name that you're so used to and then move it up in the stack, because you're used to the way prices used to be, like I can remember Strix E's that would have been $299, that sort of thing. Now I know we've got global markets and like they're because it's DDR5 it's more expensive to produce and that sort of thing going on. But this board is £499. So what we're going to discuss today, I'm going to give you a good look around the board, show you the features, talk to you about what I can do, because there's actually bits that they've not told us about, like VRM amperages, for example, which just is wrong for such a big board at launch. But we're going to have a discussion to see whether £499 might be a stretch too far, even in the current climate. Like, I'm not being funny, should it have a hero badge on it? So, looking around the board, I will do it with you on a tripod so that we can all get a good ganders around. And as you can see, you've got two 8-pins at the top, they're shielded and they're solid pins. And there is a fan header just here as well. When you move slightly further over, there are two fan headers just here. So you've got your CPU and your CPU optional. And then just up there, you've got a 4-pin RGB and an addressable RGB. So normal RGB and then addressable. Your poster readout LEDs are just above the actual poster readout itself. And then as we scroll down, you can see, now the reason why I've been saying a lot about the fact that certain pins on motherboards are solid, that's solid, they are not. You can see they're much smaller, and you can, as the camera's focused, see that they're actual, it's like hollow and they're folded around. So you can see, look, very big difference. And straight away for the price, £500. I think that's a bit off. USB 3.2 Gen 2 external, then you've got a normal USB 3.2 below it. Both case connections. I'm sure you've seen it all already, but the Q release is a masterstroke. Now, if you look very carefully, just there, you can see there's a little wire, and basically on the side here like this, you press the button and it pulls the wire. And if you've ever had a big fat graphics card sat in and then not been able to get down the back of it, and you end up finding a plastic ruler or a screwdriver or something, this just negates that. Now this, I'm going to say, will be on Gigabyte and MSI boards next generation, or maybe even version 2s for this generation. They will definitely copy that. It's going to be like BIOS flashback. Asus will have a patent on it for a little bit, and then the others will be running it. But I love it. It's genuinely like, how have we not had that sooner? Anyway, 6 SATAs down the side, a couple of fan headers, and then we get down into the normal section. Front panel connectors, fan header there. This one here, I believe, because I have looked, but I believe, oh no, it is a thermal sensor, it does say just underneath. Then you have a couple of USB 2s, internals. Further along, 4-pin and then a 3-pin RGB, so addressable, normal. And then if we pan out, we can have a look at this. So PCI Express 5 slot, because it's a DDR5 board. This is a DDR5 NVMe, which goes straight into the CPU. All of the other NVMe's are PCI Express 4 that go via the chipset. This slot and this slot are actually, now I'm saying I need to think about it. And it was a good job I did, because this is a PCI Express 4, but it's wired 4 times. This is a PCI Express 3, but wired 8 times. But then this is PCI Express 3 as well. So this is all very, very confusing. So make sure you look at your manual and your block diagram so you can see. You do get a couple of NVMEs underneath this with thermal pads and everything. It caters for single and dual slided NVMEs. But I think one of the really cool things that they've done this time, as you can see, the PCI Express 5 has a heat pipe on the top of it. Now, you don't need to worry. If you've only got PCI Express 5 NVMe, then you can still use it in there. It's still backwards compatible, and you get that nice little heat pipe at the top. One thing I will say is don't do like I just done, and that's when you get it out of the box. End up using this and thinking it's a little handle, because it will bend. Now, the power regs. This is something that Asus have dropped the ball on, because you can see the power regs. There are 18 plus 1 nestled underneath there. And they tell us that it's super alloy chokes and Japanese black capacitors and that sort of thing. And the MOSFETs have a high and a low side all on one digital package. Don't actually say the amperage of anything though. Now, the Hero was 105 amps. So I'm going to hope that these are 90 amps based on the price. If they're any lower than 90 amps, then I'm going to do that. Oh. And it's the sort of sound that a mechanic says or makes when he's going to give you a big bill. Round the back, as I float and round, you can see you've got HDMI and a DisplayPort. Don't forget you can only use those if you have onboard video on the CPU. Most importantly though, you only need those if you're not really having an onboard graphics. If you have onboard graphics, that is where the cable goes. I've said that in pretty much all of the videos this time around, and it's just because it has come up in comments a few times with people that are new and still learning. So I'm not judging, I'm just saying. Anyway, BIOS flashback. See the button there. Tiny little button for CMOS clear as well. They're normally up here, big fat ones. I suppose the fact it's a Strix and it does have this fitted is good, but it's still a Strix that's £500. And I've seen boards that are $250 with it fitted now. Anyway, USB 3 there, USB 3.2 over here. You get a couple of Cs as well. They're not, look what you're doing, Tom. They're not Thunderbolt. You have to use an onboard add-on for that. And then you do get your Wi-Fi 6E and then your audio here. Gold-plated connectors nestled in and around underneath. And these all light up the specific colours as well to make it easier in the dark for you to see where to shove your connector. So then on to performance, and we're going to go smashing straight in with VRMs first, mainly because I haven't got a clue what amperage they are. How they can release a board and then forget about that sort of thing, and it's in none of the paperwork on the website, it's in nothing that I've been given. It's a big, you could say for £500, why would I want to buy Asus when you can't actually tell me what's underneath? It's just not cricket. Anyway, so they actually did really well for VRM temperatures. It was the second coolest. It was only the Hero that was any different. 2 degrees difference, but with all due respect, 50 degrees, and that was with an i9 being absolutely pummeled. And it got to the point with some of these where I was even trying to trip them up. They've all been tested the same, but I was trying to work out why they were so good. Asus do have a history of having whatever they do with their VRMs, it does just work. So if VRM temperatures is something that you're into, I actually like moaning about it normally, but these are really good. And then yes, I do have stuff here. Now, the first actual benchmark result is the one I'm going to give you is R20 single threaded. And this is one of the ones where the Asus actually went to the bottom half of the graph, because the rest of them, it kind of didn't. It was consistently good upper middle, is the way I'd put it. I haven't got very many results on these yet, so it's not particularly hard. But it was a consistently good performer throughout. It didn't matter whether it was multi-threaded. It didn't matter whether it was... actually, the one that it went down to the lower middle, and I've just noticed this, and I've put an asterisk on it to try and remind myself to talk about it. But I filmed so many of these videos recently, it skipped out, and that was one of the game results. But I'll skip through the game results so you can have a look. Now, you can go to the OC3 website. You can go and see more results, power draw, other benchmarks, synthetics. There's loads more on there. I've tried to keep these videos snapped and to the point because I had so many of them to do for launch. So, Strix E. Now the E, in case you didn't know, they do an F and an E, and the F I like to call formula, and then the E I like to call extreme, because it's kind of, you know, the F goes first, then the E goes after. They're going to be doing an A as well, which is going to be DDR4, and it's going to be white, so that's going to give you an idea of where things are going. But I do think that, I did say, should it have a hero badge on it? And in reality, it's only really the price that's making me think hero. It's definitely a Strix board when you look at the spec, especially considering the other boards in the pack. I do genuinely feel that it's rather expensive though. I would put a Strix normally under an Aorus Master, and yet this one is almost £75 more expensive. So I do think it's very, very dear. But then when you look at the price of the Hero and then also the Formula, prices are obviously starting to go north. The thing you do need to remember though, there's much more layers that goes into the board because of it needing to be DDR5 compatible, PCI Express 5 compatible. There's signal to noise ratio stuff that they have to contend with. And then obviously they've chucked loads of phases on it. And you know, things do get more expensive, but there are cheaper DDR5 boards. So the price is a hard sell. Performance wise, it's on point. I'd say it's there where I would want a Strix to be. I think it's a little bit more money than I'd like a Strix to be. I'm now very much looking forward to grabbing hold of, if they'll let me have, an F to try and pick apart the difference. And then also, I do know I'm getting an A DDR4 as well. So I think what they've done by pushing the Strix up into the stack, as far as I'm concerned, so much more, it kind of gets to that point where, do you want a hero? And there we have it, the hero. Now, wrongly, I ended up using this for my CPU review, but in reality, out of this two, this board is $519, this board is $499. And with all due respect, for the well, we don't know what the VRM's on this because they couldn't be bothered to tell us. But I've put these two boards in front of me and said, which one would you buy? Hands down, I'd buy the Hero. It's got a better pedigree in the past anyway. The Strixes are meant to be the kind of like easily accessible ones. This is definitely trying to be something it's not as far as the branding and stuff is concerned to do with the price. So we're going to hide it round here, because if you want my advice, out of the two, I'd buy the Hero. I wouldn't even give the Strix E a second look with these two price differences.